chat. Please feel free to post any questions on the chat, and I'll liaise with our editors at the end about these. And as we have just been reminded, this event is being recorded, so please feel free to share your camera if you wish, or not if you prefer not to have the camera on, but it would be great to see you all. And now, without any further ado, please, Federica and Joanna, your session is starting and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ilaria, and welcome everyone. So lovely to see many of you here. Yes, my name is Frederica. So I'm here, of course, with Joanna, my colleague, and we're so excited about this book. It's quite funny because we started it at Eurom last year, and now we're at Eurom this year. So it's like it has been a year. And if you have any questions later about, book, how we got this book into the running, that's also something for the Q&A. But we're so excited to see you all today and to find out, if you would like to contribute to our book, because it's mainly a collection of our experiences, and that's what we would like to present today. I'm based in the Netherlands. And I do a lot of research around, diversity, inclusion, neurodiversity, disability. So a lot of these things are very close to my heart and what I would like to change in the future. Off to Joanna.
Hi, everyone. Similarly, I'm very glad to see you all here. I am based at Gdańsk University of Technology in Poland, and very similarly to my very good colleague Frederica, I'm also interested in diversity, equality, neurodiversity issues. I also write quite a lot about methodology, and just like Frederica said, I am super excited about this book because I think we have the same feeling about it, that it's a project that is very, very close to our hearts, and we really are passionate about this particular book because we feel that this is something where we can have our contribution and we can honestly change, or at least try to change what academia is like right now.
Yes, and let me share. We made some slides today, but at any given point, if it's hard to follow, please let us know. Drop something in the chat. Let me go and change the other slide. The whole technology. Where was it? I was here. Yes. So a quick of the outline, what we thought. So we want to share with you a bit more about our ambitions of why we want to do this book and what we would like to have in the book, because I think that's super important. And the idea was to do breakout groups, but I think we're a small group, so I think we keep it just as a cozy little group together. And then we discussed some themes we identified that we think are kind of the common themes in the book. And then, of course, any question and answers as well. So let me share with you the next slides. Yeah, so we got it accepted with Edward Elgar Publishing. They also saw that there is a niche for a book like that. And I guess we made it a bit appealing because we have kind of different sections in the book and different ideas behind writing this. And I will share with you in a minute a bit more about that. But I guess the initial kind of intention, ambition about this book was kind of to create this space where we engage also in dialogue between senior and junior academics, and a kind of how they experience academia or how it's shaping our careers. And there we look at different experiences around gender, race, disability, age, silenced voices. That was really important to me as well to have that in, and Joanna. Vulnerability, doing academic careers differently, writing differently. So as you can kind of see, it's a bit going against the kind of ideal academic norms. We wanted to do something, to kind of bring a bit of, some motivation in doing something differently. Now, the aim is, of course, that we together create more equality in academia. and to break down some structures that we feel is hindering us to, do something as a collective. I believe it's very about individual gains, but I would prefer to be more about collective gains, that we together, achieve something, and that we get also rewarded for doing it together, because I think that's currently missing. And what's also important to me and Joanna is that we don't want just Western perspectives, but we would love to have from all over the world, and especially from countries where we don't have so much yet, about how is academia there? Is it different? Can we learn from other countries? So that's something that we had in mind. And a bit more about the structure of the book, because I don't think that was shared in the call. But we have 4 different parts of the structure. And the initial part is that we have, when we submitted this proposal to the publisher, we had already confirmed contributors, senior scholars that we know that work on these topics. I'm not going to mention names, but you can kind of guess a bit who's working on these topics. And the idea was that they collaborate with some junior scholars and together write something about their topic close to their heart. And that's already something that is that we confirmed prior to opening the call to you. And then we have the second part, which is about stories of early career scholars. And this is the open call that's currently running. And if maybe Joanna, you can throw in the call in the chat at some point, that would be nice, because I can't do both at the same time.
Sure.
Just as a reminder for you. So it's an open call, and the idea is that you can either write something on your own, or you can write something with someone else. And today was a bit about bringing some people together who have an interest or maybe want to do something together to make it also maybe easier for themselves to talk about some of these experiences, because sometimes it's easier if you do it together in a group. That's also what Joanne and I did with a paper we wrote that came from the initial idea of this book about our experiences as early career academics during the pandemic. That's the whole thing that got this started, right, Joanna? Yeah, so that's the open call. And then in part 3, we have also this call, which is an anonymous submission. And that was so important to me that we also give a space to those experiences that cannot be shared with your name on it. I know so many people who had not good experiences, and I feel like they want to talk about it, but they can't. But in this part, you can talk about it because you're not going to be named, and we will also make an anonymous chapter. So we don't want to get credit for your experiences and what you share with us. So the idea is we have to think about how we're going to do it. I would like to have a poem, but let's see in the end what we get. That we actually write what you write and use some of the sentences that you share with us, and then create this story, this shared story together. So it will be not a lot of interpretation from us about these. It should be very close to what you submit. So that was the part 3. And then part 4, maybe Joanna can say a bit more of that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about part 4 because I think it's a slightly different part to what you will find in standard traditional books. We have developed close links with lots of early career scholars. Many of them are also very closely related to EURAM, European Academy of Management. And they have already confirmed their interests, and we want them to collectively write a kind of a summing up chapter on the future of academia. Because of course we all know that we want to change academia for the better. We identified so many problems with academia, but the thing is, what can we actually do to make it better? What can we do to change it? And we're not really interested in this just top-down approach. We are interested in these collective actions, just as Frederica was emphasizing this collectivity many times today. So we will gather a few early career scholars who expressed interest to write this chapter. And I think it's in 2 days' time, we will have our first meeting where we will brainstorm ideas, how to do that. and also how to write this chapter, because it will be written collectively by quite a few people, but also it will not look as a standard chapter. We are open for all the crazy ideas, all the different ideas, but our overall goal in doing it is to really have an impact with this chapter and to really dig deeper into what we can do and how we can do that to change academia.
Yes, that's exactly what I do. So if based on what I just described and what Joanna described here, we really look out for not the standard traditional way of writing, and we definitely look out for your own experiences. So this should not be about you reporting about others' experiences, but it should be a space where you can share your own experiences in collaboration with others, look at similarities, and also what this is all also about, to look at positive experiences, because I don't want this to be all about it's so bad, because we're all still here. So there has to be some positive experiences. Joanna and I had some amazing mentors during this time, during the pandemic, and that's kind of how we grow, and that's how we thought, hey, collectively we can conquer this, we can change things. So that's kind of the ambition with our book, and I hope it gets very clear that this is not the book where we look for citations. This is the book where we want impact. We want to change practices. And I guess the publisher also believed in our proposal and gave us the go-ahead. And maybe also to say is that we looked into publishing it access without paying, but that was just impossible for us in our current, also situation as more junior academics. But we will try and make it cost saving, so it will be then easily accessible, and also an online book available, like some of the other books you can see currently, like doing academic careers differently. They're also a quite nice price range. So we try to keep the prices down also of the book when it comes out, to get wider and get heard. Now, what we wanted to do today is also kind of give you some idea a bit more on, okay, what could I maybe write about? And I think we're a small group, so I think we just keep it in here. And also, if you want to share with your ideas, this is, I think, a nice time to do so in a very small group. And I think these are the overarching themes that come in our head when we think about what we would love to see in the book. The first theme is showing vulnerability, and there, I mean, the question is, what is vulnerability to you? It doesn't mean that we all have similar experiences, of course, of what it means. So there, people can really explore and talk about some of the things that they go through. It doesn't always have to be with work, but I guess it will relate how whatever you experience impacts on the work, and whatever work impacts on your experiences. We have,
if I could add,
yes,
with this vulnerability, what our aim is to really show that it's a very complex thing, and we want to merge as many perspectives as possible, because let's say a neurodivergent individual will experience being vulnerable differently than, for instance, a female, or a female in the UK will experience it differently than a female in India, for instance. So it's really about getting this mix of perspectives and a mix of personal stories that show us the different facets of vulnerability.
Yeah. Beautiful added, Joanna. Thanks. Just interrupt me when I'm into this. So that was one theme. I thought we go through the themes, and then maybe we open the floor to any input. Then, of course, stories of hope. Stories of the feeling of not being alone. And there, I guess I'm thinking about, that, I had a bad experience, but there was someone who pulled me up, someone maybe that isn't your supervisor, you know, someone that you've met at the conference or in a different way. So here it's really about showing that, you know, it is a very critical environment where you always get criticized, you know, with like sending papers out, getting critiques and trying to do stuff. But there's also a space for people supporting one another and helping one further in developing also yourself as an academic and what area you can go into. So the stories of hope, definitely I want that also to have positive experiences, and they're super important, I guess, for the next theme about challenging existing academic norms, because many people are already trying to do such a thing as not signing up for any university ratings. There are universities getting outside these standard ratings of whether they are good university or not, because they say it's not so much, it's very, you know, subjective ratings, for instance, how good a university is, of course. But a lot of people do it. This could be also about open reviewing. I think we talked about this a lot in CMS in Touch, the idea of open reviewing, but it could be something also that we don't talk about that's so obvious, but something that's not as obvious for us. So that's a space within the book. And of course, the idea then lastly to collectively shape the future of academia, because this book will mainly be about early career academics, not forgetting that. And it's about your future and our future. What I feel like, as Joanna said, is this bottom-up approach that we want early career academics to, you know, take control of what's happening, and then with support of many of the senior scholars that are working on this topic already for years. And that's kind of the whole idea of the themes. But I guess we wanted to give the floor then also now to some of you, if you would like to share maybe what you would like to do with this book. If you have, I think we can also move it into the Q&A area a bit, because we are just a small group. Are there any kind of input you would like to share? Any questions you have? And we're
Federica,
open.
can I ask a couple of questions? Because one was asked
Yes.
of me, but I'm not one of the editors, so I don't know the answer.
That's fine.
Would you welcome multiple contributions? So say someone wants to write with a more experienced colleague, but also write something anonymously, or write something from an early career scholar perspective and something else. Would you be open to multiple submissions?
Yeah, I guess it depends how many submissions we get. And I don't think we will look more at what people want to write rather than who the people are. Of course, the idea is to give everyone some space, but if we do have space for many more, and I think we can always go back to the publisher and ask if we have a bit more pages to share. So if we can do that, we can play around with word limits. So it could be, I think, 2,000 to 4,000. Like there's a range of words for a chapter. So if we may find a spot, we could maybe say then one chapter should be shorter, for instance, so we leave space for someone else. But I wouldn't say it's a no. I would say we have to see how much input we get. Does it answer it? Yeah.
Thank you. And then just another question again on behalf of someone else. If the institution supports it, and I know Edward Elgar has done this before for another edited book, would you be happy for authors to ask Edward Elgar for open access license of their own chapter, which then gives kind of like access to like a few chapters, perhaps, if not the whole book?
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy, and I think Joanna and I are still trying to see if what we can do. So if there's some funding available, we can do to do that. So that's totally fine. I think for me personally, I would love if also the first chapter is open access, because that's about combining all these experiences. So I will try my best that we have at least that one that combines everyone, you know, and everyone's contributions, that there is an open access chapter in that. But I cannot promise that, but that's kind of my hope, my own my own to do, definitely. Are there any other questions, comments? Yes. I don't know who was first.
Sidra.
Yes.
Hi, Frederica. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I wanted to share my idea and also had a couple of queries. Uh, what the idea what me and Nosheen came up with is to discuss the experiences of South Asian women in academia, specifically taking the case of Pakistan, and we will discuss the gender disparities, cultural norms, and existing institutional barriers. And at the end of the chapter, we will suggest, give recommendations that how women in academia or the institution can cope up with these barriers. So that is our idea. And the question I have is how many narratives are good for which analysis?
Can you repeat that? How many?
How many narratives are good for which analysis? Like how many narratives do we need for one chapter?
Do you mean stories of people or?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I guess the idea is that you write about your own story. So
Okay.
it could be just one person's story. It could be multiple. So I don't think there is like numbers. I don't think there's any numbers in particular. If it's you and her and you talk about your own experience, and maybe I guess you talk then probably about, more in a kind of a lot of people in Pakistan, a lot of female scholars have these experiences. I think we're not looking necessarily for these traditional kind of here's my evidence, because we believe that this is your experience and you share with it from, this whole idea of vulnerability and showing how things happen in your country.
So it is necessary for the person whose narration is being recorded to be the co-author of the chapter, right?
That's the idea, yeah. That the person writing it has the experience, but of course you can, talk about in general. I guess you would show the picture from your country and your own experience.
Okay. And how many words are required for the chapter?
It says on the link. Is it in the chat, Joanna? Maybe
Yes,
you
it's
can.
in the chat. I think it's, let me check quickly.
It's a range from short chapters to long chapters.
2,000 to 4,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, in the process of revisions, it might be that, for instance, you have written a chapter for 4,000 words, but we believe that it can be presented in 2,500 without losing the important elements. Then we might ask you to make it shorter. But as long as your submission is within these limits, it's absolutely fine.
Okay, right. So can you please clarify the process? Like we will be submitting our first draft and then we will get to the revisions, and how long the process will take?
Yeah, so we have, I guess, different submissions. So the first submission is just an abstract, and then we will see, who has submitted their ideas, and the idea is to, have different experiences. So Joanne and I will read through them, and I guess discuss and then brainstorm, and then we will share with the people who submitted, who we would like to invite to submit their full draft. And I think that deadline was at end of the year. And then we sent chapters out to other people who submitted. So the idea is that, it stays within the book a bit. So we support each other with our endeavors and give comments, give ideas on how to improve it. And it always comes back to me and Joanna before making a decision, so we can add our own comments. So we will be reading all of it. That's the idea of being an editor. Read it, give comments, and then we will send it out again. The idea is we do one round of submission, and then we can slowly collide all of it. And of course, there's a lot of editing stuff that's not part of your of your responsibility. That's more Joanna and mine, also with layout. And if you have pictures or drawings or something like this, we need to discuss with the publisher. But I guess overall the idea is 2026 is the publishing year for the book, and it's coming out. So usually how it works, there's one round of submissions, and then, you know, usually it's accepted, unless there is, I guess, more a major thing that needs to be dealt with. But in practice, I've never had that experience. I don't know, Ilaria, if you had that experience, that it was then a really long, usually it's very short revisions, a few comments, and then it goes in, I think.
Yeah, so
Thank you
it
so
kind of
much.
like depends on the editors really, but it can be quite an agile process. So I found that what you're suggesting now, we did it for another, oh, I'm trying to think, it might be again with Edward Elgar actually, with another edited book where I was just one of the people submitting a chapter, and it was really nice to read each other's chapters and get feedback and then do that. So I think, you know, the process can, once, you know, once the manuscript is submitted to the publisher, the process then becomes quite quick if people can stick to deadlines and check their proofs and you know, send their information and so on. So it can be quite an agile process.
Yeah, and the idea is not that it is like a paper submission. Okay, it's a positive process. You know, we cannot change your experience because it's your experiences, but we might give you some input on how you can present it in a better way, how it's maybe more, you know, easy to follow, or things like that. So, you know, once you get a yes to submit your chapter to us, I don't think that it will come in as, no, we don't want your chapter anymore. I think it's usually a straightforward process and you get into our book. That was a long answer to a question, but is that is that
Thank you
helping?
so much. Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Who was next? There's many questions up now. I don't see any
I
numbers on
think
this.
Gerale, apologies if I am pronouncing
Yeah,
it
hi.
wrong. I think they were first, and then Mary, and then Humera, and then myself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I'm Gail Laurie. I'm from Canada. I'm an immigrant from Iran. My team is or it's vulnerability and the hope. So it can be both in one chapter. And my perspective is from immigrant woman in Canada.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Of course. I think these are just like the themes that we thought come up, but it can be all of it, right? It can have
Sure.
including all of them. Yeah. No,
It will
that's really
probably be
lovely.
inevitable that there are some elements that are interrelated there, because you can't talk about one without the other often. So, and the topic sounds super exciting.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Thank
please
you.
submit.
Thank you. Yeah, because as a immigrant working mother, we have so many vulnerability and challenges in academia for sure. Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I am next, right?
Yes. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this meeting. I really find this idea fascinating. It will be a great book, one that we will read for sure. So I was wondering, I was thinking about the experience of being invited to a university as an early career, scholar for the job market interview, and how I have experienced it and how it's designed and implemented in a very paradoxical way, where people try to be friendly with you, but the process is really friendly and stressing. And then you get an outcome, but until you get the positive outcome, it's negative. But then you think about people trying to be positive and supportive, etc. So I was wondering if this was of interest for the book.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that we haven't thought about, and we hope to get something that we didn't, that wasn't obvious to us. But I do believe, it depends in what country you are, that finding a job and competing with one another, and sometimes also with your friends, because it's such a small area of where you work in. I think that it might be super super interesting to read that story, and what you did, and maybe who I don't know what storyline you pick, if there was some hope in it, that you had somebody that helped you, stay optimistic and right. But I think it's a really interesting idea because it focuses on a specific kind of, I guess, more HR practice in academia, how we get people in and how we, support one another. So I don't know, Joanna, if you have anything to reflect on here.
I will be totally honest with you. I didn't hear half of the things because I'm experiencing
yeah.
some problems with
Yeah.
Zoom. But from what I understood, it was the process of securing a job and how difficult it might be, right? Yeah, as a person who has research expertise in HR related issues and a passion for equality, for me, this topic sounds very interesting. And
Yeah.
also, just as you said, depending on which context you're based in, what country it is, I think there could be, a lot of interesting implications, and also thinking about, okay, what does it mean for the future then, right? So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really nice topic, and I guess also I know that it's also hard to get like a tenure and to, get out of this early career position when there's only these insecure jobs out there, these temporary contracts. So I think you've got a really interesting topic there that we haven't thought that might,
Yeah. And there are
be.
even more things like coming in, because I'm thinking, you're an early career scholar, you have just finished your PhD, you secure your first insecure job for a short-term contract, and then maybe you plan to get pregnant if you're a female, right? And then can you do it or can you not? Because you have only a short-term contract. If it's a very complex thing, and there is a lot to discuss, really. So yeah, definitely interesting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, who was next, Ilaria? Do you know?
Humera, you go first.
Okay.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for the lovely project that you're working on. I am interested to know about the anonymous chapters, and I really love the call. And I'm really looking forward to read the chapters that you are going to get for this, the anonymous chapters. I want to know what kind of topics or areas you would be interested in for these anonymous chapters.
Yeah, I guess it of course depends on your experiences and I think what was on top of our head was that a lot of people who experienced bullying, power misuse by their promoters or somebody senior. So it could be something also that you're afraid to talk about with someone else and to share. So in a way, I thought that this chapter could be also a way to let it out, to just let out whatever happened to you, a bit of like a counseling kind of idea, like if you can get out what has happened to you and how you experienced it without being penalized for it, because that's what usually happens, right? When you talk about bullying by someone senior, there's always a backlash in academia. So it could be as extreme as this, but it could also be something else that, you have experienced and you don't want to share with your name on it. It really depends on what you feel you want to share. So there's different kind of levels of, I guess, vulnerability in this chapter.
Yeah.
Right.
But I really thought that it's a chance for people to, really speak out. It's an idea that didn't come at the very beginning when we started thinking about the book, but the more we were talking, the more we thought actually this would be, if we really want to give voice to everyone, we should also give voice to those who don't necessarily want to openly share their experiences. And I'm sure probably every single of us, every single person here in this room might have something, that they would like to talk about, but it's simply not possible. I also have such experiences, that if I share them with my name on them, then probably it wouldn't be very good for my career, right? But on the other hand, here, there is a space where people can actually do it without being penalized for that.
Yeah. So I guess the idea is that, if you feel like you have something to share, to think for yourself, do I want to get credit for it? Because in a way, of course, we're still in academia. We still want to get publications, or is it something more for yourself? Because I think that chapter is for just yourself. Just let it out, and hopefully, we can share these stories that are unheard. And I don't think I would like to stop there. I think depends on where we get there. It would be amazing to have another project and maybe, openly talk about it, because I think it's a bit of a sensitive topic, but I feel like we have to talk about it. We cannot just be silent. And this is for those people who are told that they cannot share. And hopefully from this point we can change a bit and being more open about things like bullying, like misuse, something that happened to you that wasn't the best, without challenging your career, because we see it in a lot of countries now, these critical scholars, right? I mean, CMS, we're CMS, they get really a backlash from their universities because they talk about things that are not okay. And I think this book chapter is a tiny step that we want to do towards, well, we still want to talk about it. We're not going to be quiet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes we need to think beyond getting credit. And I think by sharing these experiences, we all will feel that we are not the only one. Yeah. And that would give a kind of a support. I really love this idea. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that's a good thought. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm next, then Mehmet, and then Grala again. So I am very privileged because I asked Rafia whether she would join me in writing a chapter for this, and she said yes. So we were thinking of writing together about what we call glimmers. So kind of like the opposite of triggers. So kind of like what made a positive difference to us in our careers at different stages, in different continents actually, but what made it better, what was positive. And so what we wanted to do was to give a little bit of background and context, but not a lot, and dedicate most of the chapter to kind of like a poetic exchange on glimmers. So, and we hope that some other colleagues will either be inspired to do more of that if they haven't engaged as much, or appreciate the glimmers that they've had in their own lives and kind of like pay it forward. So that was kind of our idea, and I'm really as I said, privileged, and it's a pleasure that Rafia said yes.
Oh yeah, I love this idea, glimmer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's already it's so creative, and I think it's like an active word, right? I can feel it already.
Yeah, kind of like light and warm, right? Yes.
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I may say, Ilaria is one of the senior scholars who already confirmed that they will contribute. So you will, if I may share that, that's okay for sharing now, I think. So thank you, Ilaria. I look forward to reading it, definitely. Okay, follow-up question.
I think that's me.
Yes, that's you.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Hello. Hi. Thank you very much. I think that we still have time, so I can also make some comments if you allow me.
Yes, please.
Last year, we organized a symposium in EWOP in Katowice in Poland. And it was about leaving academia, and we had about 50 participants. And within that group, we only had female participants. And today, it's also quite striking that we are also in kind of a sensitive topic. And again, we are together with many of my female colleagues. It's great to have you here. I, as a male colleague, but from maybe a different part of the world, I, of course, got educated in the Western educational systems, and I'm based in the Netherlands, as well as I think with you, Frederica.
Nice.
So,
where are you based?
Sorry?
Where are you based?
I am in Nairobi Business University.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Know that. Nice.
So quite a privileged space to be in. So the only private business school in the Netherlands. But of course, I deal with the inequalities in academia. And I believe that one of the things that we did not discuss enough is the overrepresentation, not the underrepresentation. And, you know, a lot of things that we talk about, yes, equality, we want to expect more voices from the disadvantaged backgrounds, from people that have, you know, not represented enough, but we also forget about the events maybe that are the outcomes affected or at least instigated by the scientific elite. And to that extent, I was wondering, what is the part one about? So how would you expect, you know, senior scholars to be contributing in your work and why you decided so? And then I will have one more question maybe after your answer. So I would like to maybe first hear this one. Thank you.
Yes. So I guess Joanne and I believe that and we know there are many senior scholars who work on all these topics, who are fighting for changes, and who have also a valuable experiences that they gained throughout their years. I mean, we all were early careers at one point, and we thought that including senior scholars working with junior scholars would help to also reflect on, you know, what has happened and over the years, and to learn also, okay, what helps, what were maybe things that help change things. So we have many, we have also, you talked about also gender, I guess. And yes, we have also some male scholars, senior scholars that work on topics like this, that confirmed they submitting a chapter, because for us it's also important that it's not just the female experience, but it's also, we also want to capture the male experience, because that's, I know many male scholars have similar experiences. So I would definitely encourage, you know, male scholars to contribute to this, because we have to work together, and that's the idea of the collaboration. And I guess the idea with the dialogue is that we learn from scholars who have been in this field for many years, who remained in this, and why they remained in this. That's, I think, something that we will capture also in the first part of the book. But they also had experienced vulnerabilities, and they also experienced this what we are experiencing, because I guess the academia itself, it has always been a bit like that, you know. And I don't think it has changed probably a bit, but there's a lot that we have to do to change it, so we feel it's a bit more safe for us to talk about things. I don't know if this answers your question, but I love working with some really mentors of mine that were not my promoters, that really helped me to remain here, and that always encouraged me. And I think that's the glitter stuff that Ilaria talked about, that, you know, told me, you're really good at what you do, don't listen to the others, you know, like really pushed me. And together we achieved so much, you know. I achieved so much because I worked with some others together, and they were senior, but now they're my friends, you know. Because you also create friendships. It's not just about work. And it's the same with Joanna. I feel like we're more friends than workers, but we work so well together, so we try and create something for you guys, for everyone. This book is for everyone, I feel.
Thank you very much. Yeah, of course, I'm, you know, critical by nature, so I would even criticize your work. I'm really sorry that,
That's
you know,
fine.
probably it would be the last thing I want to read the work from the most dominant people, since you can, you know, dedicate space for minorities or for the less advantaged. And that's why maybe I was wondering to what extent they are taking the space. But yeah, of course, we need to also have them. Of course, that also affects our legitimacy and so on and so forth. So I'm not really questioning that much. Thank you very much. But one question also regarding the anonymous submissions. So I can also, again, being a devil's advocate, I can also see kind of a downside of it. So imagine that someone submitted a chapter, but then that credit can be claimed by anyone, by myself, even though I didn't, you know, write the chapter. So to what extent are you prepared for these kinds of things for the future? I know one example, for instance, Journal of Controversial Ideas. Journal of Controversial Ideas, where you can claim the authorship after a certain period of time when you feel safer, when you secure the job, when you have your tenure, or things like this. So will be there any possibility for authors to claim the authorship after a certain period of time? So would you, did you think about something like that?
Yeah, but I guess our idea with this chapter was that we use all the input and bring it together. So it's not going to be, solely written by people. And we haven't thought about what we're going to say as the authors. If we write anonymous, if we write a collection of stories, I don't know if they can claim anything with the chapter. I have not,
Like
thought
imagine
that.
that I can go to my institution and claim that I wrote a chapter where I can maybe get some rewards and benefits and teaching reduction and these kinds of incentives that
Yeah, but don't you need proof that you've submitted this?
Sorry?
Don't you need proof that this is your story?
Or you can always like say that it was an anonymous for different reasons and so on, so that you want to protect your identity and your, position in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that I push too much maybe.
I don't know. It's like if we take a few sentences from what you said, I don't think you can claim that this is your chapter. No, I don't know how this works, but I guess we can reflect on that, Joanna. It's a good reflection on we got it through, so I guess the publisher doesn't think that's a problem, but maybe that's something we can talk with Beatrice when we meet her.
Yeah, or maybe, someone who wanted to claim the authorship after some certain years after the security is obtained, after, having some kind of a prominent role in academia and would like to be associated with that thing. Maybe it can become really, influential and impactful so that, a person would like to be associated with that work. So if you do not allow kind of the credit for later, stages, yeah, just again, I was just questioning if there is
Yeah.
kind of a,
I guess the idea was that this is anonymous, and people will know when they submit that this is anonymous. So we're not going to open it up to say you can claim it later. And if they want to be named, then they should submit to the open call, which gives them credit. I guess we thought about this option as such. If we also thought about saying if you submit something anonymous, you can also claim your name, but then you probably would just submit to the open call. So that's why we kept it fairly strict there. But
yeah, and just as Rafia said in a chat box, thank you, Rafia, for that comment, because I think that's the essence. The anonymous stories will be collated and rewritten. It's not that we put raw story into the chapter.
No.
We will give it a narrative.
Yeah. I guess if somebody would claim credit, it would be then Joanna and me, to be honest, because we have to do the work. But we don't want that credit because we want to make it about the stories.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you. It of course changes the question. The content that I wanted to ask, because if then the narratives will be presented by you, that's of course a different story. So I was just thinking maybe the other way around, so that I can write something anonymously and that piece would be published as is. But if you are going to be using the narratives, of course, that's a different story. Okay, yeah, that's clear. Thank you very much for clarification.
No worries. I think Hilary, you were next.
I think it was me, right? Gelare.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry for asking this question again.
No worries.
My story is not about incidents. It's about day-to-day life and challenge and overcoming and getting support. So it can be like that. It's not about any incidents, right?
No.
Absolutely.
Okay. And may I respond to Mehmet? That is, I think, the woman wants our voice just to be heard. Doesn't matter who's telling our story, mostly, sometimes. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions, comments, ideas you would like to share? Sitra, I think you have your hand up.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, can we submit more than one chapter?
I think Ilaria asked that question. You can definitely submit, but of course the idea is to give everyone a space, and we have to look with word count and word limits. If we have, not so many submissions, of course, there might be an option to do so. But I guess we cannot promise now because we don't know yet how much we get. I think we expect there will be a few because there's quite some interest, but we don't know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, I talked with a couple of colleagues of mine, and they were also interested in sharing their expenses. That's why I asked that if I collaborate with them as well. So can I subject more than one chapter?
Yeah. I think you can definitely do so. Definitely, but I think we only have certain word limit to also keep the price lower for the
Okay.
book. But I also expect, I mean, there might be a second round because depends on how this first book goes. Not that I want more work, but we will have to see how much we get actually in, because that might be also an option. Or to think about other ways where we can share these stories, because I think this is just the beginning for us to do this work. And so feel free to submit. I wouldn't do more than 2 because then it's most likely that it will not all be able to fit in. But yeah, think about it definitely.
Right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes.
I have another question, please.
Yes, please.
You said that you are open to writing differently. How creative can we be with this writing differently? Do we need references and citations? Do we need a few? Not at all?
Yeah, well, I guess if you reference your own experience, of course, there's no need for citations. But I guess if you reference something that other people have done, I guess we still expect some kind of, academic norms to be present. So if you do some review first of, what has happened, and then you share it with your own. But in regarding, I think Joanna, they're quite open with really creative ideas. We need to then check in the print how it would work. We have, I think, people who will be submitting maybe pictures or drawings, or, as long as we can discuss it then with the publisher, I'm happy to, fight for this uniqueness of your chapter.
And we also strategically chose our publisher, who we know is also keen on creative ideas.
Okay, thank you.
I think Humera was next, right?
Yes. Sorry, I want to understand a bit more about these anonymous chapters. After having a conversation with Mehmet, you said that you are going to use the narratives of the people who are going to write the anonymous chapters. So I just want to understand, do you want to have a narrative only, or you want it to be structured in a way that is a full-fledged chapter? I mean, how should we write that?
No. I think if you go and follow the link, we have the submission form, and I think I put in 3 questions that we would like you to answer for it. So to share your story, and so it will be basically your story. You just write what you have experienced, how it made you feel. So you will then see how many people maybe had similar experiences. And yeah, as I said, I wanted to be not just a written chapter, but more about like a poem about emotions. What did you feel in this? So it will be not a normal chapter. It will be definitely creative. That's what we had in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I put the link directly to the submission, and you can see the questions there. And the first 2 are the ones we would like you. I mean, the first one is like the obligatory question. Then you have more space if you need it, and the remaining 2 questions are optional. So you will see what more or less it looks like if you follow the link.
Right, thank you. Thanks a lot.
And I see a comment from Ilaria. You've been encouraging some of your PhD students and other ECAs and other colleagues to reach out to us at URAM. Thank you so much. We much appreciate it. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If anyone is at
Grab
URAM,
us.
we are here for an entire week.
Yes.
So it'd be lovely
Yes.
to catch up with people who are
Yeah.
interested.
And we're also hosting a symposium on this topic. So
Yeah.
if you have people who are here, just drop by and you can meet us and bring us all your questions.
Yeah,
as
and we
well.
will soon advertise the symposium on LinkedIn. It's just too much to do, too little time, but we'll do it.
Good. Any more open questions, ideas? You can always reach out to us. On the call is our email addresses if you have any questions, of course. And that's totally fine to drop us a note if you have a personal question that you don't want to share here. We're always happy to respond. I think, Inge, you have a question.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know how to put my hand up, so didn't get in earlier. I actually am thinking much more about writing about methodology, and that means what I mean by that is I'm using arts-informed methods, and it's so not accepted, and I feel vulnerable through using those techniques. And I feel that I have to defend myself the whole time. And I would like to, would that be suitable for your book to write about your choice of methodology and that fact, that choice making you vulnerable? Okay.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
No, and that's the whole writing distantly approach, right? And no, that's definitely something to share.
I'll have a good think about that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I'm just conscious about, we have time. Yeah, we still have a few minutes left.
I'm not sure if that's like an old hand or if it's a new question.
Legacy.
Yeah. No more questions at the moment. As I said, please reach out if you have ideas. But yeah, like we want this to be different. I guess that's kind of, we didn't call it like we didn't want to call it differently or anything. We wanted to call it collective response, and that collective response can be in any shape or form. Whatever. We want also to be this. I just, we are so inspired by this glitter. We want this to be your glitter. Can I call it this? Yeah, we want this to be more than just, of course, we need the references for our careers, but we want this to be also something that makes you feel good. And we will make sure that the whole process from confirmation to submission, then later on people who get confirmed invite, that this will be a smooth and positive experience, because that's important also to us. And in whatever way we can support this, Joanne and I will do our best to do so. Also with regarding to open access and things like that, I think that's we're so open to discuss this. And if we get somehow some big funding in that makes the whole book open access, I'm calling out to funders here. Please, we would love that, because that was our initial idea. So we will make it hopefully possible somehow. But yeah, I think we're probably at the end if there are no further questions or anything in the chat left. No, don't think so. All right. Am I closing, Ilaria, or are you closing?
Thank you. So if we don't have any more questions, well, thank you both for this so much. I think it's such a nurturing enabling and empowering space. I can't wait to read it. I mean, I can't wait to write for it, but also I can't wait to read it. So thank you so much for allowing this beautiful space. I also wanted to encourage all colleagues, those who are here and those who might be seeing us on YouTube later on, to, yes, engage with us via our social media channels, YouTube, but also get in touch with us as a CMS In Touch team, just if you have proposals, books, call for papers, events, or important questions that you'd like us to promote through an event. I wanted, very importantly, to remind you of our next event, which is very much linked to our event today, and it's about doing research methods differently. So the event will be on Friday, the 2nd of August, and obviously times will vary depending on where you are. That's another wonderful editorial team, so I really encourage you to attend the event, ask lots of questions, and see if this is something for you. So thank you all for attending, and especially Federica and Joanna for this wonderful call for book chapters. And bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Hello again.